Alright boys, so today's video, very simply, I want to walk you through exactly how I would go about planning a gaining phase, a bulking phase, an off-season, whatever you would like to call it. And I'm basically just going to walk you through exactly how I do it for myself and do it for my clients as well, just so you can have an idea of exactly kind of what it looks like. Now, this is my rough plan that I started back in November. I've changed a lot of the structure of how I want to run this. So I'm just going to do it all over again and explain the exact reasoning behind it. So you can pretty much steal all of this information, use it to your own advantage, and understand exactly how you can plan your own sort of gaining phase, cutting phase, or entire physique transformation, just to make sure that you obviously get the best results possible. Now, essentially what I do is I have a template here that I use for myself and all of my clients I've created. And then what I do is I basically map out each stage strategically, depending on kind of where I'm at. Now I'll give you some details of kind of where I'm at the moment. So today is obviously the 14th of January. So let's say 14th of January 2025. Shit, 2025 now. And my current weight is 73.5 kilo. Now I'm sitting at around 10% body fat, I would say. So I'm pretty lean and I kind of want to bulk up. So I want to get to around 85 kg. So my goal weight is 85 kg. Now, depending on where you're kind of starting from, you basically now want to have either a transition phase, just to go from like a kind of diet, like a reverse diet, going into a bulk or a surplus, to make sure that your body's adapting to the amount of calories that you're consuming. The worst thing you can do is basically go from eating 2,000 calories straight up to 3,000, because essentially you're going to gain a lot of unnecessary weight, because you could have probably gained a decent amount of weight just kind of going up from 2,000 to 2.3 to 2.6 to 2.9, and you want to have that kind of 1 month period of reverse dieting to make sure that you're still in that situation. So that's what I'd recommend there. But assuming you're just wanting to start a bulk, this is exactly what I would do. So you would say, right, week 1, today is the 14th of Jan, so I put 14/1/25. There you go. Now we're obviously wanting to go into a surplus. I would use weekly target and diet changes, training, cardio, and steps to basically kind of map out exactly where I'm at in the process and kind of what I need to be doing. But basically what I do is start with the body weight in mind. So I'm 73.5, and realistically you want to be aiming for around 1 pound at most per week. That's pretty much how much muscle you can be putting on at any given time. So 1 pound per week. That's going to be around 4 pounds per month. That's going to be around 2 kg of lean muscle per month. That's at the maximum you're really going to be hitting as a natural lifter. So that's kind of what you want to be aiming for. So with that in mind, you can extrapolate that. So 74.5, 74, and then pretty much bring this all the way down until you get to your goal weight of 85. That's what you want to be aiming for. All right. So now I can pretty much clean this up and then put how many weeks that will take. So obviously if it's this row here, we're looking at around 23 weeks. And if I put in 21st of Jan after that, so 21/1/25. Oh, that's long. Right, copy and paste that, change that to 21. Sweet. And then I would extrapolate. Bring that all the way down to here. And then essentially I'd work out by the 17th of June, I would hit my target of 85 kg. Now, what I can do is just call this all one gigantic phase, because if I'm trying to get to 85 kg, this is what I consider my kind of off season. Then I'm going to basically just try and make sure that I'm using this to my advantage and I'm getting as big as possible, getting as strong as possible within this phase. So what I would do is I will make all of this green for bulking. We'll go for a bit of a respectful, yeah, that's a decent green. Then I'll merge all of this, and then we'll call this phase 1 bulking. Well, we'll just call it 6 month off season. That's where you want to be putting on the majority of your muscle. So these 6 months are where I can essentially go from 73.5 to 85. Now, the way I would do this is basically simply, we'll just clean this up a little bit, focus on checking in with myself every single week. So on a weekly type, what would be the first things I do? Okay, so if I'm going into a surplus, I'd work out my kind of maintenance calories on a given day. So on average, for myself, it's around 2.5k calories, 2.6k I need to maintain on a daily basis. So I'm going to put myself in a 300 surplus. I'm going to just start on around 2,900 kcal. And in terms of carbs, fats, protein, I'd probably work this out accurately, but we're just going to go with around 1.2 times my body weight in pounds. So we'll just do 2.2 times kg for now. So 73.5. Looking at around 2.2 times 73.5, 161. Call it 170. Obviously, I would do this a little bit more accurately. I would use a TDE calculator, which I would highly recommend. But for now, that's a good starting point. Now, the training block really depends on kind of what muscle groups you want to build. For myself, I want to build up my legs. I want to build up my chest and all other lagging areas, such as my abs, such as my calves. I'm going to basically do a split that allows me to train everything twice. Therefore, I'm going to go into upper lower 4 to 5 times per week. For general fitness, I'm going to do cardio 2 times 10 to 15 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes per week. And as a rule of thumb, I'm going to do 10,000 steps. Now that cardio is not 100,000 steps. Fucking hell, no chance. No, that cardio is not changing. Let's be honest. Even though it wants to change, copy and paste that. There you go. Bring that all the way down here, and that can stay pretty consistent. I don't need to change my cardio unless we make a mistake with our surplus and we're getting a little bit too fat. Then fair enough. But for the most part, that's kind of what we can do there. Now, with a weekly target, first weekly target, obviously, of a surplus is getting used to the diet and new training block. That's what I would say for week 1. And then what I would do is essentially sit with myself and just write, okay, what do I want to achieve this week? So I want to hit, okay, let's say 5 sessions and 7 days of macros. And then when it comes to Tuesday, the next week, what I would do is I'd weigh myself, and I'd basically weigh myself first thing fasted in the morning. I make sure I'm essentially tracking exactly kind of what I was last week and what I am now, just using this tracker here, and then just aiming for this 74 target. Now, there's going to be times where, unfortunately, I don't hit this for whatever reason, but most of the time, I should be hitting this. And if I'm hitting this, then happy days. I'll then basically look at kind of where we're at. Obviously, this protocol is going to be surplus every single week. And I'm just going to use this weekly target as a kind of note for myself here. Now, if for whatever reason this weight does not go up, then the diet obviously needs to change. I'm not going to reduce my cardio below this because I want, general fitness. Realistically, you should be doing around 2 hours of cardio, 120 minutes per week on average. So realistically, this should be at 30 to 40. But I often do a little bit more than this. I often go for a run just because I enjoy it as well, and then eat the calories back. But if for whatever reason weight isn't going up, then this diet clearly needs to go up. The calories needs to go up by around 3,000 or so. So by around 100 or so. So for example, if I don't gain any weight this week and then the following week, this week 3 here, I'm going to bring calories up to 3,000 kcal, and then we test it again. And then what happens is, the timeline might change a little bit, but it's just so much better doing it this way, because rather than overestimating and gaining unnecessary fat, you're essentially doing it the slow way, which gives you a bigger runway and means you're not going to gain much fat, especially when you're doing this amount of cardio and you're hitting your 10k steps. Not only are you going to be healthy, but you're going to be lean, which is the most important. And then eventually, if you play your cards right, by June, it could be 85 kg, starting at 73.5, starting at where I'm at now. And then, all you need then is essentially a phase 2, which is a clean-up / dieting phase. Now, this honestly takes around, 12 to 16 weeks max. I mean, it really, really depends. So, if we do some quick calculations here, if I'm 85 kg here, and let's just say I've capped out at around 15% body fat at most. I wouldn't have gone over 15%. 15%. Now, I would use ChatGPT for this, but I will do the calculations here just to help you. So, if we do 0.15 of, so basically, what do I want to get to if I want to be lean? I want to get to around 8%, okay? So the goal here is 8% body fat. Cool. So, I would do 0.07 times 85. Oh shit. 0.07 times 85. What are you doing? There you go. So around 6 kilo we need to lose. So I need to be losing around 6 kilo. Now, in order to make sure I'm not losing muscle, I'm going to go for the same principle again. I'm going to lose about half a kilo per week. So what we're going to do is we're going to start at 85. I'm going to go 84.5. And then extrapolate that down until I basically reach my target of around 79 kilo. As soon as I hit 79 kilo, I should be at a stage where I'm pretty lean and I'm around 8% body fat. That's kind of where I'd want to be at realistically, because the way you can work this out is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a little bit late. Numbers on, you know, my strongest point of this hour. If I'm 15% body fat, 85 kg, then that means, well, 0.85 times. I understand this might be boring to anyone who doesn't enjoy maths, but this is useful. So 0.85 times 85 is 72.25 kg. So that means 72.25 kg is lean muscle. The rest is all body fat. Therefore, if I want to bring that down to 8%, then 7% of that needs to go, which would then put us at around 79 kg. So that would be a decent estimate, in my opinion. Now, that is row 46. So what I would do is I would just simply work out exactly where that would put us. And that'll probably put us 1st of July. Cool. I'm going to make this red. 8th of 7th of 25. So right around summer. Okay, cool. And then that's kind of where we'd be at. Now what I'll do is, again, I'll merge this. So I need to quickly unmerge that. I will merge this and I'll turn all of this nice and red or pink, if you will. Turn all of this into a deficit phase. And this is basically my target. So if I had any sort of indication to get insanely shredded, to get 8% body fat lean, then I'd probably call this a day around the 83 mark, 82 mark in May, to give myself a little bit of leeway. If I don't really care too much and I'm just wanting to kind of stay lean year round, this would be my goal, and this is kind of what I would do. So this is exactly how I'd structure it, and I'm going to show you exactly how I'd actually structure this cut, just so you understand exactly how to make sure that you consistently lose half a kilo every single week and you never ever plateau, because the truth is, if you don't play your cards right, you can do this wrong. So if we're going to be putting on around 12 kilo here, the likelihood is my body's going to be adapting, and I'm going to be around 3,500 to 4,000 kcal at this point, 100%. Now I'm going to want to knock myself into a little bit of a deficit, so I'm going to want to put myself at around 2,800 to 3,000 kcal here. Now notice that I'm not going to just drop myself to 2,000. The reason why is because your goal is to lose as much body fat as possible with the highest amount of calories that you can physically have without essentially gaining or maintaining weight. So understand that your body loves to adapt. It wants to basically adapt and find different ways to store energy. Therefore, if you start at 2,000 calories, eventually your body will just get used to it, it will adapt, and it will have nowhere else to go. You'd have to drop the calories in further, you'd have to go down to 1,700, 1,600, 1,500. It's not ideal. We don't want to do that. So what we want to do instead is essentially just make sure we start nice and high, and then also focus on keeping our cardio at a decent level as well. So that's got room to change. So what I would do is I'd start at 3 times 20 minutes per week, 140 BPM, it's the best fat range, 10,000. Then I would literally just do this, just a rule of thumb, just to prevent any sort of anything happening without, there we go, BPM, right, and then I'll just extrapolate this, look, exactly like this, right? Oh, go away, go away. Basically, pretty much the same way you're seeing it. So I upvert, bar from 25 mins, 140 BPM, you get the idea. 5 times 30 mins. You basically just want to keep going until essentially on this last week, you're doing like 6 times 30, 40 mins. I mean, at that point, because you staggered it in a nice way like this, your body's not going to adapt. Same goes for your calories. Calories just go down like this: 2,750, 2,700, 2,600, 2,500, 2,350. And what you're doing is you're doing the exact same thing. You're testing on a weekly basis to make sure that your body is actually losing the weight. If it's not losing the weight, you drop the calories, you increase the cardio. If you start too low, you don't have the luxury of doing so. That's the beauty of starting nice and high here, and then making sure that you have the luxury of being able to go down. And then eventually, if you do this right, rather than starting here in 2,000 and then coming down to like 1,200 or 900 calories a day and hating your life, you'll get to around this point where it does get hard, and you're on 1,900 calories and around 6 days of cardio, 30, 40 minutes, probably 20,000 steps, because again, this is what will happen each week. You'll be doing 10,500, extrapolate that, so you'll be doing 15,000, probably face a little bit of resistance around this part, so then you increase it, and then you focus on all of this, implement fasted cardio, and this is how you get super shredded without actually losing any sort of muscle mass, and doing it in a very constrained period of time. Because the truth is, you don't want to take a long time to lose body fat. You want to get it done nice and quickly, because you want to be getting back into an off season, a gaining phase at all times, so you can be gaining muscle, because that is primarily the goal. Now, essentially, this is exactly how I would run things. Obviously, this is highly dependent. I don't want to actually just put this set in stone. This is highly dependent on exactly kind of what you would do with your diet. But this is pretty much how I would map out a very, very simple off-season going into a dieting phase. And then once you've cleaned up here, you can either sit with yourself and think, okay, maybe I want to maintain this, I like being as lean, or we're going back into an off-season and gaining more muscle. Either way, this is exactly how I pretty much map out my transformations, how I basically just look at myself and go, right, this is what I'm going to do for my gaining phase. This is what I do for every single one of my clients, just making sure that they come in, they tell me exactly their goal, we get their short-term, medium-term, long-term goals, figure out exactly what they want to do, and we whip up a plan, whether it's 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, and we figure out exactly where we want to get them to, so we know each stage in time where we're at and where we can actually get to, what the potential is, and that way we know exactly what we're doing. Because if you don't have a plan, if you don't know where the final destination is, you're just shooting in the dark, and you don't understand why you're doing things. Speaks to your motivation, for one. Why would you keep turning up and doing the hard things, such as tracking calories, eating calories, and dieting and restricting certain foods and training hard, if you don't know where you want to get to? And two, if you don't actually track all of these things and have an understanding or a benchmark of where you need to be at on a given weekly basis, you're not really going to achieve the physique goal you want to. So this is kind of what we typically do, and I thought it might be of use to give you a little bit behind the scenes of exactly how we structure these plans. If you found this useful, please drop a like, subscribe. A lot more content coming based on this stuff every single day. That's the goal. And if you would like a little bit of help kind of mapping out your own transformation, or you're a bit unsure of kind of what to do, you might be in that skinny fat situation, not sure whether to bulk, not sure whether to cut, feel free to drop a comment below, or actually just fill out my quiz in the description. I can get in touch and pretty much help you with whatever you need. So other than that, that's today's video. We'll catch you guys on the next one. All the best.